It is going to be a hot one for several areas of western Washington today, with some areas like Everett and Mount Vernon and Monroe possibly getting up over 90 degrees, and several locations getting over 80 degrees into the mid to upper 80s. And this is going to be because of a ridge of high pressure that's setting up over us, and also because we're going to have easterly winds coming off of the Cascades, which is going to compress and warm the air. And because the wind is going to be moving offshore, a lot of the wildfire smoke from the fires east of the Cascades is going to come over the mountains west of the Cascades and deteriorate air quality for several areas of western Washington later today. The National Weather Service in Seattle has issued a red flag warning. And if we look at the details of this, we can see that it's for some portions of the Puget Sound lowlands, the northeast Puget Sound lowlands below 1,500 feet, southeast Puget Sound lowlands below 1,500 feet, and the west slopes of the north and central Cascades above 1,500 feet. And what they're calling for is east winds with 15 to 30 mile per hour sustained winds with local gusts of 45 mile per hour in some areas, relative humidity as low as 25 to 30%, and a combination of these moderate breezes and the low relative humidity and the warm temperatures is going to contribute to a rapid rate of spread for any existing fires. So we can just hope that there's no fires that start today. Right now, looking at the visible satellite imagery, we can see that it's mostly clear over Washington State with just a couple areas of low-lying fog in valleys. You can see the Snohomish River Valley and the Snoqualmie River Valley has some fog. So if you live on a hill near those locations, look towards the valley. It might look kind of neat this morning. You can also see the Sugarloaf Fire over there by Leavenworth has smoke sneaking up into the mountain valleys, and there is some slightly deteriorated air quality west of the Cascades today, and that will get worse as the day goes on. Looking at temperatures this morning, we can see that for the most part in western Washington, temperatures are in the low 50s to mid 50s, a couple areas in the upper 40s. But if we zoom in places like North Bend, for example, there's this one sensor here near Tanner. Look at that. East winds 71 degrees. And down here by Enumclaw, there's a sensor that is 72 degrees. And just a little ways away from that sensor where the east wind isn't affecting it as much, it's still in the 40s. So we got some pretty extreme microclimates going on in western Washington this morning. Again, there's another one right there by Canely where it says it is 70 degrees. So pretty spectacular microclimates this morning. All right, so now we are looking at the upper air pattern, the 500 millibar height anomaly, and we can see that this is the ridge right here that is building over the area that's going to be affecting our weather today, leading to a brief heat wave specifically for western Washington. And speaking of the heat wave, let's zoom off to this afternoon. And the reason why this is really going to be a heat wave is because we have this offshore wind coming off of the Cascades. And when you get the east winds off the Cascades, or winds that come off of any slope generally ever, we get compression of the air, and compression leads to heating. So this is one of the ways we can get some pretty high temperatures here in western Washington. And this is also what leads to the highest fire danger for western Washington is when we get east winds. So this is looking at the HRRR model, and we can see there are several locations that it's calling for to at least get to possibly 90 degrees today, like Monroe, 90, Granite Falls, 90, Lake Stevens, 89, 90, Everett. And one thing I want to call out here is this location for Seattle is not the same location as the sensor for SeaTac. There's a decent chance that SeaTac could reach 90 degrees today as well. And pretty much up and down the I-5 corridor, and in the mountain valleys on the west slopes of the Cascades, over there by Darrington, Whatcom County could get into the upper 80s and the low 90s. For areas along the coast, like over here by Hoquiam and Ocean Shores and Long Beach, it's going to be much more comfortable with temperatures in the low 70s. Up there by Port Angeles, also in the low 70s, but it'll be warmer the higher you get on the foothills. Also calling for very warm temperatures on places like Whidbey Island, Camino Island, and the San Juan Islands could also get into the 80s. Up in the Cascades, temperatures in the higher elevations are going to be in the 60s. And then once you get east of the Cascades, places like Wenatchee can get to 83, Yakima 81, Kennewick 84, Spokane 82, and a little bit warmer, rather, down in areas by Ritzville and Hatton and whatnot, with temperatures in the low to mid 80s. So the hottest area in Washington today is not going to be east of the Cascades like it normally is during heat waves, but rather is going to be west of the Cascades, where we have these east winds. The European model is calling for slightly cooler highs, not necessarily cool highs, but slightly cooler highs, but still gets temperatures really close to 90 in places like Seattle and whatnot. But this could just be because it's not as high a resolution of a model and is not showing the easterly winds that I'm going to show you right here. So looking at the HRRR, we can see this is showing 8 a.m. right here. So this is just in 15 minutes. We have each one of these lines is a pressure millibar line, and you can see it says 1016 right there and 1022 over here. So that means the pressure gradient is going to lead to the winds being offshore. It's going to be pulling the air this way. So over the Cascades, we have offshore winds, and it's going to be really quite strong as we go throughout the day on the I-90 corridor and areas up by Highway 2, and also down here by the Gorge. For anyone watching that experienced the borderline traumatizing windstorm of November of last year with the east winds, this is not going to be anywhere close to that. Okay, this is a different situation, but the winds are still going to get pretty strong, peaking sometime probably around 10 or 11. Between 9 and noon is a good bet for that. And looking at the wind gusts on the HRRR here, zooming off to 10 a.m. again. Let's actually look at 9. We can see near North Bend, gusts getting up into the upper 40s, possibly 50 miles per hour in some localized spots. And that's exactly what the wind advisory that the National Weather Service has issued calls for. And same with areas on Highway 2 and down by the Gorge, Stampede Gap area, down by Enumclaw, possibly could see some gusts up towards 45, 50 as well. And these east winds, one thing that we need to highlight is because of the red flag warning, these east winds, they're going to be lowering the relative humidity, the compressional effect of the east winds off the slopes is going to dry out the air quite substantially. You can see the relative humidity for many locations on the western slopes of the Cascades is only going to be in the lower 20%, which is pretty low humidity for around here. And so if there are any wildfire starts, hopefully there are not, on the western side of the Cascade crest, could lead to rapid fire spread with these low humidities, the strong winds. But for now, if only the fires on the east side of the Cascades are the ones that continue to exist, with the exception of the Bear Gulch fire, of course, this smoke from the east side, this is looking at the near surface smoke density on the HRRR, is going to make its way west of the Cascades. So right here, we're looking at 8 p.m., and it's showing pretty bad air quality from about Lake Stevens, Granite Falls, Arlington, north to Bellingham. And this is just a model, so we don't know if it's going to be this bad or if it's going to be worse. So down here we have another fire that could be contributing to the smoke, and down here's the Wildcat Fire. We're going to have to see how these fires burn, because the more smoke, the hotter these fires burn today, the more smoke they're going to produce, and the more smoke will come west of the Cascades and deteriorate the air quality. But the good news is it's going to be short-lived, as tomorrow, boom, we get some onshore wind again, and all that smoke is going to blow on out of the area. However, for areas east of the Cascades, you'll still experience some degree of deteriorated air quality. Speaking of that onshore wind on Wednesday, let's just take a look at the temperatures today and tomorrow to kind of compare it. So today we have this brief heat wave, and then tomorrow you can see the surge of onshore wind that occurs overnight, and then temperatures are much more moderated for tomorrow west of the Cascades, with several areas struggling to get up over 70. I would be surprised. Actually, several areas are going to get to the low 70s and to mid 70s. Further inland, it'll be warmer. Near the water, it'll be cooler. And down by Vancouver, mid 70s looks like a good bet. So yeah, it's going to be cooler. Now, the ironic thing is, just looking at this real quick, I want to call out, is it'll be cooler west of the Cascades, but it looks like it'll be hotter tomorrow east of the Cascades. Yep, keep that in mind. All right, now looking off into the future here a little bit, keeping an eye on the possibility of active weather making a return to the Pacific Northwest by this weekend right here. This is a pretty nice jet extension that's pointing towards Washington State by Saturday. And if we were to look at the precipitation feature on this is looking at the most recent European model run that ran last night. We can see there is some precipitation. If you can't tell, that's Washington right there. We can actually pull up the European model on here real fast. Bear with me. I apologize. Kind of janky here. A closer view showing some precipitation making its way into the area late on Saturday, Sunday. It's still ways out, but I think our chances of rain for the weekend are increasing. So that would be a good thing. Okay, folks, stay safe today. I would encourage everyone to not do any outdoor burning. And if you're going to be towing, make sure that your safety chains are not dragging on the concrete. And please, no tossing cigarettes out windows as well. And also something they tell all of us to be mindful of is to not mow any dry gas and to be just cautious of using chainsaws and whatnot. Anything that could cause a spark on a day like this in the west side of the Cascades specifically could lead to issues. So just be really mindful. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Appreciate it. I will talk to you later.